Welcome back to the Calgary Guide to Understanding Disease video series. Today we're talking about hypercortisolemia, otherwise known as Cushing's syndrome, and its clinical findings. Now before we begin, we need to note that cortisol is a net catabolic hormone affecting many body systems, and it serves to release energy into the blood in response to stress. Excess cortisol also impacts the circulatory system and impairs immune function. So when thinking about excess serum cortisol, we must think about it in terms of the entire body, which consists of the kidney and vasculature, liver and peripheral tissue, reproductive system, adipose tissue, skin and connective tissue, muscle, immune system, and the skeletal system. So let's start off with the effect of excess serum cortisol on the kidneys and the vasculature. Excess cortisol in the renal tubule saturates the enzyme 11-beta-HSD2, short for 11-beta-hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase type 2. This is the enzyme that normally converts cortisol into cortisone. Because this enzyme is saturated, the capacity of the body to convert cortisol to cortisone is exceeded. Excess cortisol can mimic aldosterone and bind to mineralocorticoid receptors. Note that cortisone can't normally bind to these receptors. Increased aldosterone effect will increase sodium reabsorption from the cortical collecting ducts of the nephron back into blood vessels. Water, of course, follows sodium into the blood vessels to balance the osmotic pressure between the blood and the renal tubules. The increased reabsorption of water expands the blood volume, leading to hypertension. If the hypertension is chronic, that can cause cardiomyopathies and heart failure. The other effect of increased sodium reabsorption from the collecting ducts is that positively charged sodium ions are removed from the cortical collecting duct lumen, which creates a negative luminal environment. That triggers potassium to flow down its electrical gradient, essentially being secreted into the tubular lumen from the blood. That reduces the serum potassium concentration, resulting in hypokalemia, which will lead to the consequences of hypokalemia, including arrhythmias, paralysis, and cramps. Please see the Calgary Guide video and slide on hypokalemia and its clinical findings for more details. Now for the liver and peripheral tissues. Excess serum cortisol increases gluconeogenesis in the liver and increases insulin resistance by body tissues via unclear mechanisms. That contributes to hyperglycemia, or high blood glucose levels. In the reproductive system, cortisol normally exerts negative feedback on the hypothalamus to reduce gonadotropin-releasing hormone, or GnRH, secretion. Reduced GnRH reduces LH and FSH production, reducing estrogen and testosterone production, which is especially important in females. This can result in infertility, reduced libido, and irregular menses. In the adipose tissue, increased cortisol increases fat breakdown, or lipolysis. It turns out that there is also selective expression of the cortisol receptor on different adipose tissues, such that central, facial, and dorsal fat is broken down less than in other areas. Now, this specific mechanism is still unclear. However, combined with cortisol's effect of increased appetite, that results in supraclavicular and dorsal fat pads, central obesity, and a round face, otherwise known as a moon face. Now, speaking of the skin, excess serum cortisol also affects the skin and connective tissue. Increased serum cortisol will reduce fibroblast proliferation and reduce collagen synthesis. That will lead to skin atrophy with loss of connective tissue, resulting in easy bruising, as well as having the skin become more fragile, which, when combined with increased abdominal size, stretching the skin, making it thinner, and making the venous blood underlying the stretched dermis more visible. And since the venous blood is purplish in color, that results in purple striae on the skin. Excess serum cortisol also affects muscles. Cortisol increases proteolysis and reduces protein synthesis, reducing muscle growth and function. That affects the cardiac muscle, leading to cardiomyopathy and heart failure down the road. That can also affect the skeletal muscle, especially of the upper arms and thighs for unclear reasons, resulting in weakness of the proximal muscles. Excess cortisol affects the immune system also. Normally, serum cortisol protects against the damaging effects of uncontrolled inflammatory and immune responses. Increased serum cortisol would lead to an oversuppression of inflammation and impaired cell-mediated immunity. This leads to poor wound healing and increased susceptibility to infection. Finally, in terms of the effects of cortisol on bone and calcium metabolism, increased serum cortisol leads to a reduced intestinal calcium absorption and reduced calcium reabsorption in the kidneys. This reduces the serum calcium ion concentrations, which triggers an increase in parathyroid hormone secretion. Parathyroid hormone will cause increased calcium resorption from the bone back into the blood. This reduces the calcium content and bone density, leading to osteoporosis. Another mechanism by which osteoporosis arises from hypercortisolemia is that increased serum cortisol increases the rank-L-OPG ratio. Remember that rank-L stands for receptor activator of nuclear factor kappa B ligand, and OPG stands for osteoprotegrin. This increase in rank-L to OPG ratio reduces osteoblast activity and increases osteoclast activity, further resulting in increased resorption of calcium from the bone into the blood, contributing to osteoporosis. Finally, both primary Cushing syndrome, resulting from adenomas that extend into the zona reticularis of the adrenal cortex, and central or secondary Cushing's, resulting from increased ACTH stimulation of the zona reticularis, are associated with increased adrenal androgen secretion. The increased secretion of androgens will result in hirsutism and acne associated with hypercortisolemia. And that's it for a summary of the clinical findings of hypercortisolemia, otherwise known as Cushing syndrome. If you learned something new from this video, please give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and share this video with another medical learner who's interested in the topic. Thanks, and see you in the next Calgary Guide video.